Life is a whole lot better when you're connected. When you connect with others relationally, it provides an opportunity to grow spiritually. But how do you make friends if you're new to the area or the church? We think the best way is to join a small group. Small groups are gatherings of people who just do life together. Every week you get to hang out, have fun, and grow in your relationship with Jesus. The hard thing about groups, though, is finding the right one for you. And that's why we created GroupLink. GroupLink is an event where you can meet others in hopes of forming a small group. You'll find that we try to make it as simple as possible to meet new people while removing the awkwardness of having to start the conversation yourself. And all you have to do is reserve a spot. Then you simply show up. When you arrive, we connect you with a group of people who are in the same stage of life or live in your area. From there, you'll be free to chat and get to know everyone. For details on registering and to get connected, grab a GroupLink brochure or contact the church office. Hoping to see you at a small group real soon.
Well, welcome back to church. If you're visiting with us for the first time today, I want to say a special welcome to you. It's great to see you. Hopefully you're having and will continue to have an awesome experience with us. If you're watching online, you couldn't be with us today for whatever reason, we miss you. We hope to see you back soon. But for those of you that did the right thing and came to church today, welcome back. It is great to see you. It's great to have this opportunity to be together with you this morning. But let's be honest, just for a quick minute. Isn't it sad? Isn't it a little sobering to think that summer is over? Does anybody else feel that way? It's just a little sad to think that summer is over. Hopefully you and your family had an amazing summer, amazing vacation, if you took a vacation at all this summer. Lisa and I had an amazing vacation. We took some time off. We only work one day a week anyway, so we took off some time. Took off a couple weeks off in the month of August, and we crammed as much as we could into those couple weeks. We did a lot. We spent a few days in Toronto with my daughter Emma, and we did lots of fun things there. We went indoor skydiving, which was a lot of fun. I looked like a giraffe in I don't know what. It was entertaining, to be sure. We went to Ripley's Aquarium downtown Toronto, which if you've never been, I would really encourage you to go check that out. It's a lot of fun. And then Lisa and I made our way south. We went down to the big city. We went down to Scranton, Pennsylvania. And true story, we actually made a pit stop in Scranton. As big fans of the TV show The Office, we just couldn't help ourselves from taking a detour into the Electric City. We had to go and see Dunder Mifflin. And if right now you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, that's fine. You're probably the better off. There'll be no Dundies for you, but you'll be tracking with us in just a minute. But after we made our pit stop at Dunder Mifflin, we continued on to the Big Apple, New York City, where we spent a few days. We had as much fun as we could possibly have in that amount of time. We crammed in so much in just a few days. We had a blast. We went to a number of different places that you've probably all seen before. We went to the 9/11 Memorial, which took on a new meaning for me, especially this past 9/11, as I stopped and reflected about all that happened all those years ago, and went to be in that surreal moment and to see how a city rallied around tragedy is incredibly, incredibly powerful and moving. We then went to the Brooklyn Bridge, which was a lot of fun. I personally had to go there because I've seen so many comic books where Spider-Man is on top of that bridge, and as you know me, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so I had to go check that out. Then we went to Times Square, and man, the crazies come out at night. It was, New York City is one thing during the day, but it is truly the city that never sleeps. We had so much fun checking out Times Square during the day, but we also took a risk and went at night. We went to Broadway and took in a show, which was a lot of fun. If you've never had the opportunity to do that, I'd highly recommend. This show was incredible. The title kind of suggests something that it wasn't. It's really about the Wizard of Oz, so if you're fans of that, you're good. Don't think I went to something I shouldn't have been at. That's next summer. Then we went to Rockefeller Center, and again, this is such a cinematic city, right? Like, I mean, you remember Home Alone 2 when he goes to, where the Christmas tree was, and I'm like, I'm here. Kevin was here, and so am I. I mean, it was amazing. And then we went to the Empire State Building. We went during the day, and the most disappointing thing about that trip was, in the movie Elf, where he goes in and he's like playing with all the lights. I went with the full intention of doing that and ticking off everybody that was in the elevator with me, but those lights aren't in the elevator that I took, and they must have knew I was coming. But we went also in the nighttime as well, and we saw the New York City at night all lit up, and it was just an incredible thing. And then one of my favorite places, and this isn't working, one of my favorite places that I went to was Central Park. And it is such an incredible thing to be in this beautiful park and to realize in just a moment that you're completely surrounded by concrete. It's just this weird thing. If you've never been, I can't even explain it, but it was so amazing to be in this city again that I've seen depicted in movies and television, and to actually be there. We went down to this part of the park, and I rented one of those boats and took the most beautiful woman in the world on a boat ride and just paddled around, and it was just having a blast. We did so much in just a few days, and it was absolutely an incredible trip. And for those of you that are on social media, you already knew that, right? Because I couldn't stop myself from posting pictures and live video of the trip the whole time we were on the trip, right? I mean, that's what's so amazing. Like, we shared what was supposed to be our intimate vacation, our getaway, just the two of us. We shared it with everybody we've ever met. And that's what's so amazing about this digital world that we live in, right? I mean, the world has gotten to be so small. And for some of you younger people, you're like, man, this is all I've ever known. But for those of us that remember the big, long cord that you could walk with the phone and go into any room in the house, life has changed. The world has gotten so small that it used to be back in the day when Friends and Seinfeld only came on once a week, you had to wait till the next day to go to school and to go to work to tell somebody about what you did the day before. That it's hard to believe that there was once a time that you couldn't just share with everybody you've ever met the vacation that you took, let alone include the minute while it's happening. Like, the world has changed so much, and it's gotten so incredibly small. And now, thanks to this amazing invention of social media, I can tell and write whatever I want online, and somebody's going to read it. I can post whatever pictures, whatever video I want, and somebody's going to look at it. And I had this moment of epiphany while I stood on top of the Empire State Building, and it was, the city was just full of lights, and I'm with the most beautiful, amazing woman that I've ever met, Lisa, just to clarify, and we were having like this amazing vacation, and I'm sitting there in this moment. Actually, I was standing there, and I'm kind of having an out-of-body experience where I'm looking at myself, ignoring my wife, because there's something in me that was concerned with whether or not the guy who ate glue in the table next to me in grade 3 knew what I was doing in this moment. Like, I just had to include him in this moment. So I got my phone out and I'm live streaming that I'm on the top of the Empire State Building, and hopefully Billy can see what I did. And even though I haven't seen him since grade 3, like, what is that? And I stopped and I had this moment. I'm thinking, how am I ignoring my wife? And I'm so concerned with what somebody that I haven't seen in 20, 30 years is he included in this? And so I had this moment where just kind of the light bulb went off in my head. And that's what's amazing about this digital age. There's something about it that feeds this thing in me. And maybe it's something that is fed in you. This thing in me that all of us want to be seen. Every single one of us in this room want to be seen. And some of you can't see that in yourself. Some of you probably can't admit that. But all of us want to be seen. And more than that, I believe that we don't just want to be seen, but I believe that every single one of us wants to be known. That there's something in you and there's something in me that wants to be known. And some of you are pushing back from that right away, especially some of you guys, right? Because you're thinking, I don't care if anybody sees me. Yes, you do. You want to be seen as the person who doesn't care whether or not he's noticed. All of us want to be seen and known for different things, right? Some of us want to be known for different things. You go around like, I don't care what people think of me. But you continually say things like that because you want to be known as someone who has that kind of attitude. All of us want to be known for different things. And this message this morning isn't talking against that. This isn't like condemning that kind of attitude, because it's something that, let's be honest, it's in all of us. All of us want to be known, and specifically we want to be known for lots of different things. This is just kind of the launching point, getting us all on the same page this morning as we get into the depth of what I hope that we can talk about in just a few minutes. So I just wanted to tease this out a little bit more, because I know some of you are going to have a hard time accepting that, believing that, or seeing that in yourself. So I want to just tease it out. I got a list of things here that I believe many of us, if not all of us, want to be known for different things on this list. For some of us, it's our looks, right? You think you're good looking, but you can't possibly admit that. But when you take evaluations of the amount of time and energy you spend getting yourself together and put on, and if you really took evaluation of how many pictures are on your social media feed of yourself and your attitudes and your amazing lips, like if you took stock, if you really evaluated that in yourself, you'd see that you want to be known as someone who's good looking. For others of us, it's our lifestyle. We want to be known for living a modest lifestyle. Others of us want to live an extravagant lifestyle, and we want to be known for that. So we continually talk about the things we do and the things that we have and the places we go. For others of us, it's our accomplishments. We love to brag about ourselves. We've seen and met lots of different people. We've gone lots of places. We've done lots of things, and we want to be known as someone who's done and been and knows those people, right? and you want to be known as being a successful person, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just something you want to be known for. Or maybe it's not your success, maybe it's the success of your kids, because parents, we love to brag about our kids, don't we? For those of you that don't have kids, it's annoying, right? I mean, you're with people and all they can talk about is their kids and what their kids are doing in the stage that they're at. And my kid did this and my kid did that. And you're like, oh my goodness, your kid is perfect, great. We all agree, whatever. And that's just something in us as parents. And for others of us, it's our education. Many of us in the room, we want to be known as a great mom or a great dad, especially moms. There's this thing in you. You just feel this, I just want to be known. I want to be seen as a great mom. When you're out in public, when you're at Starbucks, when you're out and people see you with your kids, you want them to be like, man, that's a great mom, right? When you're at a play date or with a bunch of other moms in a mom's group, you want to be the mom in that group that everybody's like, wow, she's an awesome mom. I wish I could be half the mom she is. Dads, right? That's not us. Right? Dads, all we want is just to be not bad enough that our wives don't have something to complain about when they get together with all those other moms, right? We just want to be, if we can status quo, that'd be great. For others of us, we want to be known as someone who's disciplined, whether it's our eating habits or our exercise routines. We want to be someone who's a disciplined person, and we want people to see us and know us for that. For others of us, it's our beliefs, it's our values. We want to be known as someone who has strong convictions, strong beliefs. It might be political views, it might be religious views, it might be some kind of social view, but you want to be known as someone who believes in something and who values something. And so you do a lot of talking, you do a lot of posting, whatever it is when you're with people, because that's how you want to be seen. All of us, to varying degrees and in different ways, want to be known, and we want to be known for specific things. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. This isn't a message condemning that kind of attitude because it's something in all of us. But the problem isn't wanting to be known. Okay? The problem is when there is a gap between what I want to be known for and what I really am. That's the problem. The problem is when there's a discrepancy between what I want to be known for, whether it's a great husband, a great dad, a great leader, a loyal friend, maybe you want to be known as a great teacher, a great business person, whatever it is, when there's a discrepancy between what you want to be known for and what you really are, there's a gap. And when there's a gap, what do? You fake it, right? You fake it. You put on the face, you exaggerate, you compensate, you might even lie. And it creates this conflict, it creates this tension in every single one of us that we know who we want to be, and we know there's a gap between the person that we want to be and what's really going on inside of us. But we don't want anybody to know that, so we kick into high gear image management. We begin to worry and just focus on the image that we project because we don't want the things, the gaps, the discrepancies to be seen. And so we'll do anything we can to cover them. And so we find ourselves in this weird place where we feel this tension, we feel this stress, we feel this pressure to put on a happy face, to fake it till we make it. Because after all, we don't want to be known for our junk, right? We want to be known as a great dad. We want to be known as a great wife, a great teacher, a great friend. We want to be known for loyalty. We want to be known as someone who's disciplined. And so we'll do whatever it takes to project and protect the image of what we want to be and hope that nobody finds out what's really going on the inside. And again, all of us want to be known for different things, but all of us have gaps. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't know how popular you are. I don't care what you believe this morning. All of us have been in that place, if you're not right now, where there's a gap, there's a discrepancy between who you are and what you want to be known for. And when there's those gaps, when there's those discrepancies, it sets us up, all of us up, for something really, really, really unhealthy. It sets us up for secrets. When we have gaps, when we have discrepancies in our lives between who we are and the person that we want to be, it sets us up for secrets because we can't let anybody see the gap. And so we hide those things about ourselves. And in reality, what we're doing in those moments, and it's hard to see this in the moment, but what we're doing is we're hiding who we really are. We're hiding who we really are, and instead we're putting out an image, but the image that we put out there for the world to see isn't an image that's real. But all of us, no matter age and stage, no matter what you believe, all of us have felt that pressure. All of us have felt that tension. And many of us, if not all of us, have given into that temptation to cover, to mask, to hide, to exaggerate, to lie, to keep secrets. Students in the room, you know what I'm talking about. You've only been in school a couple weeks, right? And already you're feeling that pressure to be somebody that you know you're not. Because there's something in you that knows, I'm insecure, I'm not confident, but I can't let people see that because I don't want them to think I'm weak, because if they think I'm weak, they're gonna pick on me. And so I have to project this image that I'm somebody better than I am, or I feel better about myself than I actually do. You could be 12, 13 years old and just feeling overwhelmed with the pressure to hide, to compensate, to lie, right? If you're dating, you have that all the time and you go on those first dates, right? You have to project that image because you want to be seen as someone who's worth being around, right? So you project this image so that they'll think good of you. Can totally understand that's not a bad thing. Parents, you know what I'm talking about, right? Parents, you've been in that moment where you're going to an event or you're going to someone's house and you turn around to your kids in the car, if you so much as touch your sister, right? And you pull them over, look, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna pretend that we all get along, right? You do that. Why would you do that? Because there's something in you that you wanna be known as a good, happy family. And so you go in there and then something happens and you get all embarrassed because that contradicts the image that you wanna put out there. And so you say things like, well, I'm really sorry about her. She didn't get much sleep last night. And your daughter's looking at you like, what are you talking about, right? But I have to somehow make an excuse for this abnormal behavior that isn't really abnormal. And I wish reality hadn't shown up tonight because after all, this isn't what I want to be known as a family. Let's drill down just a little bit deeper, married couples. How many of you fought all the way to church before? You fought all the way to church before. You pull up into the church parking lot, you get out of the car and you put on that happy church face. Bless the Lord, oh, right? And you walk in and you hold hands together because why would you do that? Because you want to be known as a happy couple, right? And everybody knows you as a happy couple because that's the image that you put out there. But in reality, nobody really knows what's really going on in and with you, right? So we've all been there. Maybe we're all there right now where we feel this tension and this pressure to exaggerate, to manipulate, to lie, to cover, to keep secrets because we all have gaps between who we really are and the person that we would really like to be. And some of them are minor and some of them are major. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you drink too much and nobody knows that except your husband or your wife. You don't want anybody else to know that because you don't want to be known as an alcoholic. You don't want to be known as a drunk. You don't even think you are one anyways, right? So you spend all this time and energy covering that up because you don't want to be known as someone who can't handle alcohol. Or you're upside down in debt, right? You don't want anybody to know that. And when everybody goes out, you go too, even though you can't afford it. And you know you can't enjoy it because you can't afford it, but you go anyways. Why in the world would you do that? Because you want to be known as someone who's fine financially. You don't want to be known for the gap between who you are and who you want to be known as, right? All of us have been there. And it's not who we are, it's not who we want to be. We don't want to be known that our marriage is on the rocks. We don't want to be known that one of our kids is a prodigal. We don't want people to know that we're having financial issues or that we're struggling with some sort of addiction. We don't want to be known for those things. And so we feel this conflict, we feel those tension because we know there's a gap, but we can't let anybody else know there's one. And so again, we'll fall into that temptation to lie, to exaggerate, and to keep secrets. All of us have been there. So, we know what we want to be known for, but we hope that nobody finds out who we really are, right? We know the person that we want to be known for, but we hope that nobody finds out who we really are. And again, it doesn't matter what age you're at in life. It doesn't matter what stage you're at in life. It doesn't matter what you believe about Jesus, God, the Bible. None of that matters because every single one of us, Christian or not, young or old, have experienced the tension, the struggle, the frustration, and the temptation to cover up the gaps that are in our lives between who we are and what we want to be known for. And you know what you want people to think you are, but the question is, who knows who you really are? And please hear me. I'm not trying to be unrealistic. I don't think you're going to walk up to somebody and say, hey, my name is Scott and I struggle with. I don't think that's the kind of thing that we're going to do, right? And I know what you're thinking, Scott. If people knew who I really was, if people knew what was really going on with me, they wouldn't like me. And if I could, I'd just like to say to you, newsflash, they don't know you anyways. They like the image of you. They like, they click on, they heart the image that you curate, but they don't know the real you. They like what you want to be known for. They like the person that you'd like them to think that you are, but they don't know the real you because you've gotten so good at hiding those things that make you and make up who and what you really are. So here's the deal. We all want to be known for something, but what we really need in our lives is to be known. We all want to be known for something, but what we really need in our lives, what you and I need in our lives the most, is to just be known. What you and I need the most is to be around a group of people that know those things about us that we would be embarrassed for anybody to find out about, or we would be tempted to compensate or lie or exaggerate about. We need to be known by a group of people who know those things but accept us where we are, but at the same time, they love us enough not to leave us there. We need more than just to be known for something, because that's going to happen. And we need more than just to be known by someone, because the truth is that can be dangerous, right? I mean, we all know people who, got connected with someone and they ran around with just that specific someone because they connected and they got emotionally attached, but that person wasn't really concerned with helping them get better. And in the end, both of them ended up more messed up together than they did when they were apart, right? So what we need is more than just being known for something. What we need is more than just being known by someone. What we need, what you and what I need truly, is we need to be known by a community that accepts us where we are, but loves us enough that they refuse to let us stay there. That's what you need, and that's what I need the most in my life. To be known by a community that accepts us where we are, but loves us enough that they refuse to let us stay there. What we need in our lives, what you need and what I need, is to be known by a group of people that will help you and I become the person that God created and intended for us to be. And quite frankly, the person that you want to be, the person that I want to be. And this may come as a shock to you this morning, but this is exactly what the church is supposed to provide for people. Not be for people, but provide for people. The church is supposed to be a community of broken people, because let's be honest, we're all broken, right? The church is supposed to be a community of broken people that understands that every single person in this room has gaps between who they are and who they say they want to be. And so everybody should be able to come to the church and somewhere in that body of people find a group that they can sit down with and say, I'm not who or what I pretend to be. And I'll be honest with you, that is not easy to do and be. It might be downright hell for you, but in that moment, you will discover a group of people who will love and accept the real you, because in that moment, they've had the opportunity to be with the real you. And let's be honest, your greatest regret, you know what it is, right? Your greatest regret? Your greatest regret didn't happen because people knew you and knew what was going on, did it? Your greatest regret happened because you couldn't be honest. Your greatest regret happened because you had a gap, but you didn't feel like you had anybody in your life that you could go to and talk about it. And if ever there was a place for a married couple to say, things aren't what they seem, if ever there was a place for someone to come who's struggling with an addiction and say, listen, this is not who I want to be, and I'm embarrassed to even admit this, but this is what's going on. If ever there was a place for a single parent to yell and cry out for help, it's this place right here. It's the church. This is the place where you're supposed to be free to come and say, listen, I'm not proud of this, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but there are some gaps in my life and I need some help. And in that moment, in that environment, in that community, there would be a group of people who would come alongside you and say, not only do I not judge you, not only do I not condemn you, but I want to come alongside and help you become the person that God created and intended for you to be. I want to help you become the person that you want to be. That's what the church is supposed to be about. And so I think one of the greatest questions that you can ask yourself is this: who am I going to do life with? Who am I really going to do life with? I know who you're going to do image management with. And I know who you want people to think you are, but really the question is, who are you going to do life with so that people know who you really are? That's an important question. And it's one I hope that you can answer before you leave the barbecue today. So, to do this, I want us to go back. To find what the church was supposed to be on this Back to Church Sunday, I want us to take a look at what the church was intended to be and intended to provide in the lives of people. So to do that, we're going to have to go way back in the day, back to where it all began. We're going to have to fire up the DeLorean and go way back to roughly 80, 90 AD, where Jesus has just left the keys to the church in the hands of a group of young men. And he sent them off and given them the mandate of spreading the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ to the whole world, to Rome, to the Roman Empire, to everyone who can hear. These young men are called apostles, and their story is chronicled in a book written by Luke, and the book is called Acts, not like an axe, but like Acts, A-C-T-S. And the acts that it's referring to are the acts of the apostles, what they did in, with, and through the local church. And what's amazing about this book of Acts is we don't get a whole lot of information about service planning, which is a bit of a bummer. They don't tell us about what style of music they sang. They don't tell us how many songs they sang. They don't tell us what service times were or how many services they had. Many of the things that we get focused on in church world. They don't tell us about a lot of that. But what Acts does tell us is much more important. It's much more powerful, and to be quite honest with you, it's way more valuable. As we look at just a few verses out of the pages of history, what we're going to see is what the church valued, not just what they did. And you won't see it right away. I'll be honest with you. You're not going to see it right away as we put this up on the screen. It's not going to jump off the page to you. You're going to kind of have to read between the lines a little bit. But as we do, what I believe is you're going to see in just a few moments what you need in your life and what I believe I need in my life. We're going to see what the church was intended to be and provide for the lives of people, and what I hope that we can get back to today. So we're going to pick it up. In Acts chapter 2, verse 42, it says, all the believers. Now, this might just be something you read over, but you have to understand, this is the days of the early church, like church planting 101, ground zero, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are coming to this church. All the believers devoted themselves, that's a strong word, devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. It goes on, a deep sense of awe came over them, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. So again, you have to imagine, and we've experienced that lately here at the Bridge, where there's just this thing that happens. It's a supernatural thing called momentum that happens in the church when God is at work and God is alive, and that's what's happening here at this church. And in the days of the early church, this was what was going on. They were surrounded by it, and all the believers met together in one place, and they shared everything they had. They sold their possessions and gave the money to those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while enjoying the goodwill of all the people. So Jesus has given his disciples this commandment in Mark 12. He says, I want you to go and I want you to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and I want you to love your neighbor as yourself. You can't separate the two. You can't isolate them. You can't divide them. And the early church was known for living that out. And because they didn't just do spiritual things, because the spiritual things, as you can read between the lines, the spiritual things poured into their relational world. And because they loved God, they in turn loved one another. And as a result, it says, each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. The church exploded. The church gained momentum. We're here today because of what started way back then. And again, we don't get a whole lot of service planning information. We don't get what color the chairs should be in the auditorium. We don't get a whole lot about song selection and how many songs or what time the services should be or how many of them there are. What we get is what the church valued. They valued teaching, they valued fellowship, they valued prayer, and they valued food, which is why we're having a barbecue today. So they valued all of those things. But in the middle, and I don't know if you caught it, but there's this current that's running underneath the whole thing. And when you really stop and think about it, I think it becomes very, very profound. I don't know if you caught it, but it said they sold their possessions and gave the money to those in need. And if you read that and you stop and you think about it for just a minute, what had to happen in order for that to happen? What had to happen for that to happen? People had to be known. And people had to be willing to be known. That those that had a lot, they had to be aware of more than just themselves, and they had to be aware enough to look at other people and not just see them, but also see their need. And not simply see their need, but they had to value that person and value their need over what they valued, what they had. So much so that they would be willing to let go of what they had in order to provide for someone, in order to care for someone that they knew. And the person that had a need, they had to be courageous enough. They had to be vulnerable enough to admit that they had a need. They had to be strong enough to let go of that stress and let go of that pressure and walk away from that temptation to just put on the church face. They had to be courageous enough to say, listen, I have a need, and let it hang out there. The people in the days of the early church knew one another. And because they knew one another, they cared for one another. And because they cared for one another, the church was known for being a place where everyone could be known. And because they were known, because they did real life together, because they had the freedom to be known, they experienced true freedom. And if you've ever been set free of something, you know that freedom isn't just liberating, it's contagious. So the people are seeing how this is impacting other people, and it's gaining momentum as one another find themselves caring for one another, and it just snowballs and it pushes this thing down the hill, and we're still here because of it. Because the people in the days of the early church allowed themselves to be known by one another, we're still here. Because God honored their courage, and as a result, it says, each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. Now, I don't know this because it doesn't say this, but my guess is that didn't happen in the service. My guess is it happened because what they did in the service translated into what they did when they met in one another's homes. This happened because over time, they developed bonds, connection, love, and acceptance for one another. And so that is why today, on this Back to Church Sunday, we're encouraging, we're challenging, we're hoping and praying that every single person in this room, young or old, will consider getting connected in a small group. That's why we believe that small groups are so important. We don't believe that small groups is an add-on, okay? There are lots of churches with small groups, but I believe the vision for this church, and I believe what the New Testament teaches, is that we should be a church of small groups, not a church just with them. That small groups is more than a study. Small groups is more than taking a book and picking it apart. Small groups is about finding a group of people where you can be known and know one another and care for one another. It's intended to be the place where you can say, listen, I'm embarrassed by this, but I have some gaps in my life, and where there's a group of people who will come alongside you and say, I'm no different, I'm no better, I don't condemn you, I don't judge you, but I want to be a part of helping you become the person that you want to be. And in turn, I hope that you'll help me become the person that I want to be. If ever there was a place where this could happen, it's right here. It's right here. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Scott, come on. Are people, can you really have that kind of intimacy? Can you really have that kind of vulnerability in a structured environment, right? I mean, I know what you're thinking. Is it realistic, Scott, to think that people are just going to walk into a group of people they barely know and just kind of open up like that? And the answer is no. No, it's not. But here's what I know. Here's what I've seen, here's what I've experienced, and here's what I believe. I believe that God honors our attempts. I believe that God honors courage. I believe that God uses structure. And let's be real, as we're finishing out here, let's be real. Your spouse was once a stranger, right? And your best friend was a stranger to you at one point in time. But over time, it's consistency, it's priority, it's commitment that makes relationships work. And all of those things are choices. They're not accidents. If you talk to anybody that's ever been in AA or any of those kind of environments, they'll tell you, listen, look, structured environments, while a little forced on the front end, over time, they can create the kind of intimacy, the kind of brotherhood, the kind of camaraderie, the kind of connection that leads to life change. It can happen. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Scott, that's great for addicts. But I'm not an addict, right? Yes, you are. Do you know what you're addicted to? Image management. You're addicted to it. You're addicted to being perceived a certain way. And when there's a gap between who you are and who you want to be perceived as, you're addicted to covering it up. We all are. So, here's the big takeaway question. As we wind down today and as we get out there and enjoy that wonderful food, the question is, who are you doing life with? Who are you doing life with? I know who you're doing image management with, and I know who you're doing image management for, but who are you really doing life with? I know what you want to be known as, but who's helping you become the person that you really want to be? If ever there was a place where you could find that type of community and connection, it's in the church. But it wouldn't happen in here. But it could happen, just as it did for the days of the early church. So, as your pastor, listen, I'm going to be honest with you this morning. I'm excited to see us in this room, but this isn't where it ends. Our desire is to see you meeting in homes. Our desire is to see you connected to a group of people that will come alongside you, because where else is it going to happen? I see a group of people come alongside you, put their arms up underneath you, and help you become the person that you truly want to be. What if we got this right? What if the church, on this Back to Church Sunday, what if we came back to being a church that's known for being a place where everybody could be known? What would change? Would your life be different? The answer to that question is exactly why we're not only challenging you to get involved and connected in a small group, but we're inviting you to Group Link. 7 days from today, next Sunday night, we're going to transform this room away from rows and into circles, and our desire is to see you come out and get connected in the context of a small group. It's not so that you can do a study and a study alone. It's not so you can dissect a book. It's so that you can be known for who you really are. And as a result, you can become the person that you want to be. So my challenge to you as you leave this morning, between now and next Sunday at 6 o'clock, I'm going to challenge you to do anything and everything in your power to clear that time frame for next week. If you're already involved in a small group, this is still for you, because we want to link people together. So even if you've been in a small group, be here so that you can engage and connect with people who have never taken that step. And together, we can become the people that God intends us for us to be, and the people that we truly want to be ourselves. Let me pray for us as we leave and as you head over to the barbecue, and I hope you have a lot of fun. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, this morning, I thank you for the chance to be together in this place. I thank you for the gift of the church, and I thank you that it's so much more than a service time. It's so much more than a building. I'm thankful that the church is a living organism full of breathing human beings that get to do life together. And so, Father, I pray that as in these next 7 days for every single person in this room, that they would take the challenge, accept the challenge, take that first step, and get connected with other folks in the context of a small group. I pray that you'd give them courage as they make that step. And I pray that you would bless those steps and that there would be connection and community that happens as a result of it. Father, thank you for the opportunity that we have to gather and have some fun together. I pray that you would bless the food and bless our time together as we fellowship together with one another, just as they did in the early days of the church. Thank you that your church, what you established all those years ago, is still alive, well, and strong. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.